The front door slammed shut, rattling the windows of my childhood home. My heart stopped as Lauren, my sister-in-law, stormed in, her designer heels clicking like a countdown to war. "Pack your bags, Emily," she sneered, tossing her glossy hair. "This house is mine now." I stood frozen in the living room, clutching the edge of the couch where my mother used to read me bedtime stories. The air felt thick, suffocating, as if the walls themselves were closing in. This wasn't just a house, it was the last piece of my parents. The only anchor I had left after their accident 2 years ago. Lauren's words sliced through me, each syllable a betrayal. She wasn't just my brother's wife. She was the woman who'd spent years worming her way into our family, only to now claim what wasn't hers. "You can't be serious," I whispered, my voice trembling but defiant. My hands shook as I faced her, her smug smile a stark contrast to the grief still raw in my chest. My brother, Mark, stood behind her, his eyes fixed on the floor, avoiding mine. His silence was louder than her demands, a confirmation that he'd chosen her side. "Oh, I'm deadly serious," Lauren said, crossing her arms. "Mark and I own this place now. Your parents left it to him, not you. Check the will if you don't believe me." She gestured toward a stack of papers on the coffee table, legal documents that looked as cold and final as a gravestone. I stumbled back, my mind racing. The will. My parents had always promised this house would be shared, a sanctuary for both Mark and me. We'd grown up here, laughed here, cried here. The oak tree in the backyard still bore the scars of our childhood carvings. E+M forever. How could it all be stripped away in a moment? I looked at Mark, desperate for him to speak, to tell me this was a mistake. But he just stood there, his shoulders slumped, letting Lauren's venom fill the room. "Mark," I said, my voice cracking. "Say something. This is our home. You can't let her do this." He flinched but didn't meet my gaze. It's complicated," the lawyer said. "The lawyer." I cut him off, my anger flaring. "Since when do you trust lawyers over your own sister?" My eyes burned with tears, but I refused to let them fall. Not in front of Lauren, who was watching me like a predator savoring its prey. Lauren stepped closer, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. "Poor Emily. Always clinging to the past. This house is too big for you anyway. You're single. No kids. No real responsibilities. Mark and I have plans, big plans. We're starting a family, and we need the space." Her words were a punch to the gut. No responsibilities. I'd spent the last 2 years piecing my life back together after Mom and Dad's car crash, working 2 jobs to keep this house running while Mark gallivanted with Lauren across Europe. I'd painted the walls, fixed the leaks, tended the garden, every act a tribute to my parents' memory. And now, she was dismissing it all, reducing me to nothing. "You don't get to decide what I deserve," I said, my voice low but steady. "This is my home too." Lauren laughed, a sharp, cruel sound. "Not anymore. You have 1 week to get out, or I'll have the sheriff drag you out myself." The room spun. I gripped the couch tighter, my knuckles white. Mark finally looked up, his eyes filled with guilt but no courage. I'm sorry," he mumbled. It's what's best." "Best for who?" I wanted to scream. Instead, I turned away, my chest heaving. I couldn't look at them, not at Lauren's triumph, not at Mark's cowardice. I stumbled toward the kitchen, needing air, needing space to think. The familiar creak of the floorboards under my feet grounded me, reminding me of what was at stake. This wasn't just about a house. It was about family, loyalty, and the promises we keep or break. As I leaned against the counter, staring at the faded wallpaper my mom had loved, a memory flickered. My dad, sitting at this very table, his hands rough from years of carpentry, had once said, "Emily, this house is more than wood and nails. It's our heart. Protect it, no matter what." His words echoed now. A call to fight. I wasn't going to let Lauren steal my heart. Not without a war. That night, I couldn't sleep. The house was quiet, but my mind was a storm. I sat on my bed, surrounded by boxes I refused to pack, and pulled out my laptop. If Lauren thought she could bully me out with a few legal papers, she was wrong. I'd seen the will after the funeral. Dad's lawyer had shown it to me. It named both Mark and me as equal heirs. So why was Lauren so confident? What had changed? I started digging, my fingers flying across the keyboard. I searched property records, legal forums, anything that could explain how Lauren had twisted the truth. Hours passed, my eyes burning from the screen's glow, until I found it, a clause in the will about survivorship rights. If one heir relinquished their claim, the other could lose their share unless they contested it within a specific time frame. My heart sank. Had Mark signed something behind my back? I called my dad's old lawyer, Mr. Thompson, first thing in the morning. His voice was kind but tired, and he confirmed my worst fears. Mark filed a petition to transfer full ownership to himself. He said, he claimed you agreed to it. I tried to reach you, Emily, but your number wasn't working. My number wasn't working. I'd had the same phone for years. The realization hit me like a freight train. Lauren. She'd been in charge of the family's legal affairs while I was drowning in grief. Had she intercepted calls? Forged documents? My blood boiled at the thought. I never agreed to anything. I told Mr. Thompson, my voice shaking with fury. What can I do? There's a 30-day window to contest the transfer, he said. You've got 10 days left. But Emily, it's not just about the law. You'll need proof, something to show Mark's claim was fraudulent. Proof. The word hung in the air like a lifeline. I thanked Mr. Thompson and hung up, my mind racing. I needed to find evidence, something to expose Lauren's lies. But where to start? She was meticulous, always covering her tracks. And Mark was too spineless to stand up to her. I spent the next day combing through the house, searching for anything out of place. Old letters, bank statements, anything that might hint at what Lauren had done. In the attic, buried under a pile of Mom's quilts, I found a locked box. My heart thudded as I recognized my dad's initials carved into the lid. He'd always kept important documents here, away from prying eyes. The lock was old, rusted. With a screwdriver and some determination, I pried it open. Inside were papers, deeds, insurance policies, and a copy of the will. My hands trembled as I read it. There it was, clear as day. To our children, Mark and Emily, we bequeath our home, to be shared equally. No mention of survivorship clauses or transfers. But there was something else, a handwritten note from Dad, dated a month before the accident. Emily, Mark's been distant lately. If anything happens to us, make sure he doesn't let that wife of his take everything. She's not what she seems. My breath caught. Dad had known. He'd seen through Lauren's charm, her calculated smiles. This note wasn't legal proof, but it was a spark, a reminder that I wasn't fighting alone. My parents' love, their trust, was still with me. I spent the next few days gathering ammunition. I contacted a private investigator, a friend of a friend who specialized in financial fraud. His name was Jake, a gruff man in his 40s who didn't mince words. If your sister-in-law's pulling a fast one, I'll find it, he said. But it'll cost you. I don't care, I replied. This is my home, my family. Jake nodded, his eyes softening. All right, kid, let's nail her. While Jake dug into Lauren's financial history, I played my part. I acted defeated, letting Lauren think she'd won. She strutted around the house, measuring rooms for her renovations, while Mark avoided me entirely. Each day, my anger grew, but so did my resolve. I wasn't just fighting for a house anymore, I was fighting for justice, for the truth my parents deserved. By the end of the week, Jake called with news. Found something, he said. Lauren's been moving money around big sums. Offshore accounts. Looks like she paid off a lawyer to backdate a document claiming Mark's sole ownership. It's fraud. Emily. Solid proof. My heart soared. This was the key to turning the tables. But I had to be smart. Lauren was cunning. And if I confronted her too soon, she'd slip away like smoke. I needed a plan. One that would leave her with nowhere to run. I spent the next 2 days plotting. My mind a chessboard where every move had to be perfect. Lauren's confidence was her weakness. She thought I was broken, that I'd slink away quietly. She didn't know I was gathering an arsenal of truth. Jake's findings were gold, bank statements, email exchanges, even a recorded call where Lauren bribed a shady lawyer named Carl to forge the ownership transfer. It was enough to bury her. But I wanted more than a legal victory. I wanted her to feel the weight of her betrayal, to stand in the wreckage of her own schemes. The house felt like a battlefield now. Lauren's presence tainted every room, her laughter echoing like a taunt. She'd already started redecorating, ordering new curtains and tossing out Mom's old photo albums like they were trash. Each discarded memory fueled my fire. Mark, meanwhile, was a ghost always out, always avoiding me. I wondered if he even knew the depth of Lauren's lies, or if he was just too weak to care. I called Jake again, my voice steady despite the storm in my chest. What's the next step? How do we make this airtight? You need a public confrontation, he said. Somewhere she can't wiggle out. Get witnesses, people who matter. And don't let her know what's coming. Surprise is your weapon. A plan formed, sharp and clear. The annual neighborhood barbecue was tomorrow, hosted in our backyard every year since I was a kid. The whole community would be their friends, neighbors, even Mr. Thompson, who'd agreed to come at my request. Lauren had insisted on hosting this year, claiming it as her debut as the new lady of the house. Perfect. She'd invited half the town to show off her victory. I'd use that stage to expose her. I spent the night preparing, my hands trembling as I printed out Jake's evidence, bank records, the forged document, and a transcript of Lauren's call with Carl. I tucked them into a folder, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and anticipation. This was the moment I'd reclaim my home, my family, my parents' legacy. The morning of the barbecue dawned bright, the sun casting golden light across the backyard. Tables were set with checkered cloths, the air thick with the smell of grilling burgers and blooming roses. Neighbors milled about, their laughter a stark contrast to the tension coiling inside me. Lauren was in her element, flitting from group to group, her smile dazzling as she played the perfect hostess. Mark hovered nearby, his face pale, sipping a beer like it was his lifeline. I stayed in the shadows, helping with the food and keeping my head down. Mr. Thompson arrived, his silver hair catching the light as he gave me a discreet nod. Jake was there too, blending in with the crowd, his eyes sharp as he scanned for trouble. Everything was in place. As the afternoon peaked, Lauren climbed onto a makeshift stage-o wooden platform Dad had built for summer parties. She tapped a microphone, her voice syrupy sweet. Thank you all for coming, she said, beaming. Mark and I are so thrilled to share our home with you. This house is the start of our new chapter, and we can't wait to make it our own. The crowd clapped, oblivious to the lie. My stomach churned, but I forced myself to wait. Timing was everything. Lauren continued, her words dripping with false gratitude, until she said, and to Emily, who's been so understanding about moving on, thank you for making this transition so smooth. That was my cue. I stepped forward, my heart thundering, the folder heavy in my hands. The crowd hushed, sensing the shift in the air. Lauren's smile faltered as I climbed onto the stage. My eyes locked on hers. Understanding, I said, my voice clear and steady despite the tremor in my limbs. That's a funny way to describe it, Lauren, because I never agreed to give up my home. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Lauren's eyes widened, but she recovered quickly, laughing. Emily, don't make a scene. This isn't the place. Oh, it's exactly the place. I shot back. I opened the folder, holding up the first documented copy of the original will. This is my parents' will. It says Mark and I share this house equally. But you, Lauren, tried to steal my half with a forged document. The crowd gasped. Lauren's face paled, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Mark stepped forward, his eyes wide with panic. What are you? I didn't let him finish. I held up the bank records next, my voice rising. You paid a lawyer named Carl to backdate a transfer. Lauren, you moved money to offshore accounts to cover your tracks. Did you think I wouldn't find out? The neighbors whispered, their eyes darting between me and Lauren. Mr. Thompson stood up, his voice calm but firm. I've seen the evidence. Lauren, it's fraud. Plain and simple. The courts will tear that transfer apart. Lauren's composure cracked. This is ridiculous. She snapped, her voice shrill. You're lying. Emily, you're just jealous. Jealous? I laughed, the sound bitter. Of what? Your lies. Your betrayal. You thought you could bully me out of my own home. But you're the one who's leaving. I turned to the crowd, holding up the transcript of her call with Carl. She bribed a lawyer to steal my inheritance. She lied to my brother. To all of you. This house isn't hers, it's mine. And it's Mark's. And it's my parents' legacy. The backyard fell silent, the weight of my words sinking in. Lauren's face was ashen, her hands trembling. Mark looked like he might be sick, his beer forgotten on the table. The neighbors stared, some with pity, others with disgust. Jake stepped forward, his voice low but audible. I've got the recordings if anyone wants to hear them. It's all here, every word. Lauren stumbled back, her heels catching on the platform. This is a setup. She screamed. Mark, tell them. But Mark didn't move. His eyes met mine, and for the first time in weeks, I saw something like the brother I used to know: guilt, shame, maybe even regret. Is it true? He whispered, his voice barely audible. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The truth was in the papers, in the silence, in the way Lauren's bravado crumbled. She turned to run, but Jake blocked her path, his expression unyielding. You're not going anywhere, he said. Not until this is settled. The barbecue ended early, the festive mood shattered. Neighbors left in hushed groups, casting glances at Lauren, who sat on a lawn chair, her face buried in her hands. Mark stood alone by the oak tree, staring at the carvings we'd made as kids. I wanted to go to him, to shake him, to beg him to explain why he'd let this happen. But I couldn't, not yet. The wound was too fresh. Mr. Thompson approached, his hand gentle on my shoulder. You did good. Emily, the courts will back you up. That house is yours. I nodded, my throat tight. Thank you. I managed. But victory didn't feel like I'd imagined. The house was safe, but my family was fractured. Mark's betrayal, Lauren's greed, it had torn something that might never heal. As the sun set, I stood in the backyard, the folder still in my hands. The oak tree loomed behind me, its branches swaying in the evening breeze. I traced the carvings, C+M forever. Forever felt like a lie now, but I wasn't ready to give up on it. Not yet. The days after the barbecue were a blur of paperwork and hushed conversations. Lauren had vanished into the guest room, refusing to speak to anyone, while Mark moved like a shadow, his eyes hollow. I wanted to feel triumphant, but the house felt emptier than ever. The walls, once filled with laughter, now echoed with the weight of broken trust. I met with Mr. Thompson at his office, a cramped space cluttered with legal books and coffee mugs. He laid out the next steps, filing a formal contest to the property transfer. presenting Jake's evidence in court, and ensuring Lauren's fraud was exposed. "You've got a strong case," he said, adjusting his glasses. "But it won't be quick. Or cheap." "I don't care about the cost," I said, my voice firm. "This is about more than money. It's about what's right." He nodded, a flicker of pride in his eyes. "Your parents would be proud, Emily. They always said you had their stubborn streak." The thought of Mom and Dad brought a lump to my throat. I could almost hear Dad's voice, steady and warm, telling me to fight for what mattered. I left the office with a renewed sense of purpose. But the weight of Mark's silence clung to me. He hadn't spoken to me since the barbecue, hadn't explained or apologized. I didn't know if he was angry, ashamed, or just lost. Back at the house, I found Lauren packing. Her suitcases were open on the living room floor, designer clothes spilling out like a confession of her excess. She didn't look up as I entered, her movements jerky, her face tight with rage. "You think you've won," she spat, zipping a bag shut. "You think this changes anything. Mark will never forgive you for humiliating us." I crossed my arms, refusing to let her words pierce me. "This isn't about Mark forgiving me. It's about you trying to steal what's mine. You lied to him, Lauren. You lied to everyone." She laughed, a brittle sound. "You're so naive. Mark wanted this too. He's tired of living in your shadow. Always the perfect daughter. He signed those papers willingly." Her words stung, but I didn't flinch. "If that's true, why isn't he here defending you?" Lauren's eyes flickered, a crack in her armor. She grabbed another suitcase and stormed toward the door, but I stepped in her path. "You don't get to just walk away," I said. "Not after what you did." She glared at me, her lips a thin line. "What are you going to do, Emily? Call the cops? You've already ruined me. Everyone in this town knows what happened. My reputation is shot." "Good," I said, my voice cold. "Maybe you'll think twice before trying to destroy someone else's life." She pushed past me, her shoulder brushing mine, and for a moment, I thought she might lash out. But she just kept going, her heels clicking down the driveway. I watched her load her bags into her car, the engine roaring as she sped away. The house felt quieter, but not peaceful. Her absence left a void, a reminder of the family we'd once been. I found Mark in the backyard later that evening, sitting under the oak tree. The sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, but his face was gray, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. I sat beside him, the grass cool beneath me, and waited. Silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken words. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't know, Em. Not about the fraud. She told me you'd agreed to let the house go, that you wanted to move on. I believed her." I stared at him, my heart twisting. "How could you believe that? This is our home. You know what it means to me." He rubbed his face, his eyes red. "I know. I was so caught up in her. She made everything sound so easy. So right. I didn't think." "You didn't think," I repeated, my voice sharp. "Mark, you let her walk all over you. Over us. Mom and Dad trusted you." He flinched, his shoulders hunching. "I'm sorry," he said, and for the first time, I believed him. But sorry wasn't enough. Not yet. We sat there as the sky darkened, the air growing cool. The oak tree's branches swayed above us, a reminder of the promises we'd made as kids. I wanted to forgive him, to rebuild what we'd lost. But trust was a fragile thing, and ours was shattered. The court date was set for 2 weeks later. Mr. Thompson warned me it would be a fight. Lauren had hired a slick attorney, someone used to bending the truth. But Jake's evidence was ironclad, and I had something Lauren didn't, the truth. Still, the waiting was agony. I threw myself into work, into keeping the house alive. as if cleaning the windows or tending the garden could hold my world together. One night, as I was sorting through more of Mom's old things, I found a photo album I hadn't seen in years. It was filled with pictures of Mark and Mebby building forts, blowing out birthday candles, laughing under the oak tree. My chest ached as I flipped through it, each image a reminder of what we'd been before Lauren, before the lies. I left the album on Mark's bed, a silent plea for him to remember. He found me the next morning in the kitchen, the album in his hands. "I miss them," he said, his voice breaking. "I miss us." "So do I," I said, my eyes burning. "But you have to make this right, Mark. Not just for me, but for them." He nodded, tears spilling down his cheeks. "I will. I promise." It was a start, but promises were cheap. I needed action, proof that he was still the brother I'd carved my initials with. The court date loomed, and with it, the chance to end this nightmare or lose everything. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected, its wooden benches worn and its air heavy with tension. I sat beside Mr. Thompson, my hands clasped tightly in my lap, as Lauren's lawyer strutted before the judge, his voice smooth and confident. Lauren sat across the room, her face a mask of composure, but her eyes betrayed her nervous, darting, like a cornered animal. Mr. Thompson presented our case with quiet precision, laying out Jake's evidence like a puzzle coming together. The forged document, the bank transfers, the recorded callet was damning, each piece tightening the noose around Lauren's lies. Her lawyer tried to spin it, claiming I'd manipulated the evidence out of spite, but the judge's expression remained unyielding. When it was my turn to speak, I stood, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. "This house isn't just property," I said, looking directly at the judge. "It's my family's heart. My parents built it, loved it, left it to both of us. Lauren tried to steal that, not just from me, but from their memory." The room was silent, the weight of my words settling over everyone. Even Lauren's lawyer paused, his pen hovering. Mark was there, sitting in the back, his face pale. I didn't look at him, I couldn't. Not until this was over. The judge called a recess, and I stepped outside, the cool air a relief against my flushed skin. Jake was waiting, leaning against a pillar with a cigarette he didn't light. "You did good in there," he said. "She's got no way out." "I hope so," I said, my voice quiet. "But it doesn't feel like winning." He nodded, understanding in his gruff way. It never does when it's family. Back in the courtroom, the judge returned with her ruling. "The evidence of fraud is overwhelming," she said, her voice firm. "The transfer of ownership is null and void. The property remains in the joint names of Emily and Mark, as per the original will." Relief flooded me, but it was bittersweet. Lauren's shoulders slumped, her lawyer whispering furiously in her ear. Mark stood, his eyes meeting mine for a brief moment before he looked away. The judge wasn't done. She ordered an investigation into Lauren's financial dealings, a blow that left her visibly shaken. Outside the courthouse, I expected Lauren to disappear again, but she approached me, her face twisted with rage. "You think this is over?" she hissed. "You'll regret this, Emily." I stepped closer, my voice low. "Try me. You've got nothing left to take." She stormed off, her heels echoing on the pavement. Mark lingered, his hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. He started, but I held up a hand. "Not now," I said. "I need time." He nodded, his eyes filled with a pain I couldn't soothe. "Not yet." The house felt different when I returned, lighter but still wounded. I walked through each room, touching the walls, the furniture, the memories. The oak tree stood strong in the backyard, its carvings a reminder of what I'd fought for. But the victory was hollow without Mark by my side. Over the next week, I threw myself into restoring the house. I repainted the living room, hung Mom's old curtains, and planted new flowers in the garden. Each act was a reclaiming, a way to heal the scars Lauren had left. But Mark's absence gnawed at me. He'd moved into a motel, sending me texts I didn't answer. I wasn't ready to forgive, but I couldn't stop loving him. One evening, as I was scrubbing the kitchen floor, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Mark, his face haggard, a duffel bag at his feet. "Can we talk?" he asked. I hesitated, then stepped aside. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where Dad had written his warning about Lauren. Mark's hands trembled as he spoke. "I filed for divorce," he said. "She's gone. For good." I stared at him, my heart caught between relief and disbelief. "Why now?" I asked. "Because I was wrong," he said, his voice breaking. "I let her blind me. I let her take everything, our home, our family. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for a chance to earn it." Tears stung my eyes. I wanted to believe him, but trust was a fragile thing, and ours was still in pieces. "It's not going to be easy," I said. "You hurt me, Mark. You hurt us." "I know," he said, his voice raw. "But I'm here. I'm not running anymore." We talked late into the night, peeling back layers of pain and regret. He told me how Lauren had manipulated him, feeding him lies about my intentions, twisting his grief into compliance. I told him about the loneliness, the fear of losing everything. It wasn't a full reconciliation, but it was a start. The next morning, we stood under the oak tree, the sun warm on our faces. "E+M forever," Mark said, tracing the carvings with his finger. "Forever's a long time," I said, but I smiled. The first real smile in weeks. The house was ours again. But more than that, we were finding our way back to each other. The road ahead would be hard, but for the first time, I felt hope. The weeks that followed were a delicate dance of rebuilding. Mark moved back into the house, taking the guest room to give us both space. We worked side by side, painting walls, fixing creaky doors, and sorting through Mom and Dad's things. Each task was a step toward healing, but the silence between us still carried weight. Trust wasn't rebuilt in a day. Lauren's absence left a strange void. The town buzzed with gossip her fraud had made the local paper, and her reputation was in tatters. Part of me pitied her, but the larger part remembered the cruelty in her eyes, the way she tried to erase me from my own life. She'd vanished from our lives, but I knew she wasn't gone for good. People like Lauren didn't let go easily. One afternoon, as Mark and I were cleaning out the garage, he found an old toolbox Dad's, filled with his favorite tools. Mark held up a hammer, his eyes distant. "He taught me how to use this," he said a man should know how to build something that lasts. I nodded, my throat tight. He'd want us to build this family back up. Mark looked at me, his eyes searching. "Can we, after everything?" I didn't have an answer, not a simple one. Instead, I handed him a paint roller. "Let's start with the house." We worked until sunset, the garage slowly transforming from a cluttered mess to a space that felt like ours again. As we sat on the porch afterward, sharing a beer, Mark spoke softly. "I'm seeing a therapist," he said. "I need to figure out why I let her control me. I owe you that." I looked at him, surprised but relieved. "That's a good step," I said. "I'm proud of you." He smiled, a small, tentative thing, and for a moment, I saw the boy who'd carved our initials in the oak tree. We weren't whole yet, but we were trying. The court case wasn't over. Lauren's lawyer filed an appeal, a desperate attempt to salvage her case. But Mr. Thompson was confident it would fail. "She's grasping at straws," he told me over coffee. "The evidence is too strong. But be careful, Emily. She's unpredictable." His warning stayed with me, a shadow at the edge of my thoughts. I kept the house locked, checked the windows at night, and even asked Jake to keep an eye out. He'd become a friend, stopping by with updates or just to check in. "You're tougher than you look," he said one day, grinning. Most people would have crumbled. I almost did, I admitted. "But this house site's worth it." He nodded, his eyes warm. "It's not just the house. It's you. You've got heart." His words stayed with me, a reminder that I wasn't alone. The community rallied around me. 2 neighbors brought casseroles, offered to help with repairs, even organized a fundraiser to cover my legal fees. Their kindness was a balm, a reminder that family wasn't just blood. One night, as I was sorting through more of Mom's things, I found a letter she'd written to me, tucked inside an old recipe book. Her handwriting was familiar, comforting, and I read it with tears streaming down my face. "Emily, my brave girl," it began. "You've always been the one to hold things together. If the world ever feels too heavy, remember you're stronger than you know. This house is yours, not just in name, but in spirit. Keep it alive." I clutched the letter, my heart aching with love and loss. Mom had known, somehow, that I'd need her words. I showed the letter to Mark the next day, and we sat together, reading it over and over, letting her voice fill the space between us. "We'll keep it alive," Mark said, his voice firm. "For her. For Dad." I nodded, my hand finding his. "For us." The legal battle dragged on, but it felt less daunting now. Mark was stepping up, attending meetings with Mr. Thompson, even testifying against Lauren's claims. He was trying to make amends, and though the pain of his betrayal lingered, I could see he was fighting for us too. One evening, as we were planting new roses in the garden, a car pulled into the driveway. My heart skipped Lauren, but it wasn't her. It was Carl, the lawyer she'd bribed. He looked nervous, his tie loosened, his eyes darting. "I need to talk," he said, glancing around. "About Lauren." Mark and I exchanged a look. "Come inside," I said, my voice steady but wary. Carl sat at the kitchen table, his hands shaking as he pulled out a USB drive. "She's planning something," he said. "I don't know what, but she's not done with you. This has recordings, emails, everything I have on her. I'm turning myself in, but I want you to have this first." My heart raced as I took the drive. "Why now?" I asked. He looked down, ashamed. "Because I was wrong. And because you deserve to win." Mark's jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. I thanked Carl, and he left, his car disappearing into the night. The USB drive felt heavy in my hand, a new piece in the puzzle. Whatever Lauren was planning, I'd be ready. The USB drive was a ticking bomb. I handed it to Jake the next morning, his eyes narrowing as he plugged it into his laptop. The files were a gold minimore recordings of Lauren plotting, emails detailing her plans to sell the house to a developer, even notes about pressuring Mark into signing over his share. She'd been scheming long before the will surfaced, her ambition a web that ensnared everyone around her. "She's ruthless," Jake said, shaking his head. "But sloppy. These emails are enough to get her charged with conspiracy to commit fraud." I nodded, my stomach churning. "What's her next move?" Jake leaned back, his expression grim. "She's desperate. People like her don't go quietly. She might try to intimidate you, maybe even come after the house again. You need to be ready." I was. The house was my fortress now. Every lock checked, every window secure. Mark and I installed cameras, a precaution that felt both necessary and surreal. This was our home, not a battlefield. Yet Lauren had turned it into one. Mark was different now, more present. He'd started helping with the legal filings, even calling Mr. Thompson to discuss strategy. One night, as we sat on the porch, he looked at me, his eyes clear for the first time in months. "I'm done being weak," he said. "I let her control me, but no more. I'm with you, Em." His words were a lifeline, but I couldn't fully trust them yet. Prove it, I said, my voice soft but firm. Stay with me through this. No matter what. He nodded, his jaw set. I will. The next day, Jake called with news. Carl had turned himself in, confessing to his role in the fraud. His testimony, combined with the USB drive, was enough to push the case forward. The police were looking for Lauren, but she'd vanished. No one knew where she'd gone. Her absence was both a relief and a threat, like a storm cloud on the horizon. I kept busy, focusing on the house. We repainted the kitchen, hung new photos, even started planning a small memorial garden for Mom and Dad. Each act was a reclaiming, a way to erase Lauren's shadow. But at night, I'd lie awake, the USB drive's contents replaying in my mind. What was she planning? Would she come back? A week later, the answer came. I woke to the sound of shattering glass. My heart pounded as I grabbed my phone, dialing Jake as I crept downstairs. The living room window was broken, a brick lying amid the shards. Attached was a note, "You'll regret this." Mark was at my side in seconds, his face pale but determined. "Call the police," he said, grabbing a baseball bat from the closet. We searched the house, but no one was there. The cameras had caught a figure in a hoodie, too blurry to identify, but I knew it was her. The police arrived, taking the note and promising to increase patrols. Jake showed up too, his expression grim. "She's escalating," he said. "This isn't just about the house anymore. It's personal." I nodded, my hands trembling. "What do we do?" "We bait her," Jake said. "Set a trap. She's desperate. She'll make a mistake." The plan was risky but simple. We spread word through the neighborhood that I was planning to sell the house, a lie to lure Lauren out. Jake set up extra cameras, and Mr. Thompson filed a motion to freeze her accounts, tightening the noose. If she wanted the house, she'd have to show her face. 2 nights later, she did. The cameras caught her sneaking into the backyard, a can of gasoline in her hand. My heart stopped as I watched the footage. Mark's face ashen beside me. She was going to burn it down, our home, our memories, everything. Jake was ready. He'd been staking out the property, and he caught her before she could light the match. The police swarmed in, cuffs snapping around her wrists as she screamed, her voice raw with fury. "You can't do this. It's mine." I stood in the driveway, watching as they led her away. Mark's hand found mine, his grip tight. "It's over," he whispered. But it wasn't. Not really. The house was safe, but the scars remained. Lauren's arrest was a victory, but it couldn't erase the months of pain, the betrayal that had fractured us. As the police cars drove away, I looked at Mark, his face lit by the flashing lights. "We're going to be okay," I said, more to myself than to him. He nodded, his eyes wet. "Yeah, we will." Lauren's trial was swift. The evidence was overwhelming: Jake's recordings, Carl's confession, the USB drive, and the security footage of her with the gasoline can. She pleaded guilty to fraud and attempted arson, her face blank as the judge sentenced her to 5 years. I sat in the courtroom, Mark beside me, and felt no joy, only a quiet relief. Justice had been served, but it couldn't undo the past. Mark and I returned to the house, the silence between us softer now, less jagged. We'd started talking more, sharing memories, rebuilding what we could. The oak tree still stood in the backyard, its carvings a testament to our resilience. E+M forever. Maybe forever was possible after all. We held a small ceremony for Mom and Dad, planting the memorial garden we'd planned. Neighbors came, bringing flowers and stories, their presence a reminder that we weren't alone. Jake was there too, his gruff smile a comfort. "You did it, kid," he said, clapping my shoulder. "You saved it." "Not just me," I said, looking at Mark. He smiled, a real smile, And for the first time, I felt like we were a team again. The house was ours, fully and legally, the courts ruling final. We decided to keep it, to live in it together, at least for now. Mark was still in therapy, working through the guilt and manipulation that had clouded his judgment. I was proud of him, but I knew healing would take time for both of us. One evening, as we sat under the oak tree, Mark handed me a small box. Inside was a key, old and worn, with a note attached in his handwriting, to new beginnings. "It's the spare key to the house," he said, his voice soft. "I want you to know I'm all in. No more running." I took the key, my eyes stinging. No more running. I agreed. We sat there as the stars came out, the house glowing behind us. It was more than wood and nails, it was our heart, our history, our future. Lauren had tried to take it, but she'd underestimated us. We were stronger than her lies, stronger than her greed. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Trust was still fragile, and the scars of betrayal lingered. But as I looked at Mark, at the oak tree, at the home we'd fought for, I knew we'd make it. Together.